30,000 years ago, hearing a wolf howl beyond the firelight meant one thing: you were prey. In the frozen darkness of the Ice Age, wolves weren't friends, they were monsters. They were the dominant land predators, hunting down mammoths and bison across vast, icy territories. And yet, out of all the creatures alive back then, the giant bears, the cave lions, the massive mammoths, only one species chose to cross the line. Not to attack us, but to live beside us. Today, there are nearly 1 billion dogs on Earth. They sleep in our beds, detect cancer in hospitals, and find survivors under 10 feet of snow. But how did a killer become a companion? The truth is far more incredible than the fairy tales you've been told. To understand this transformation, you have to understand the brutal reality of an Ice Age wolf. Life was a constant gamble with death. A single pack covered hundreds of miles, chasing prey that could shatter a wolf's skull with one kick. Every meal required extreme violence and carried extreme risk. A broken leg during a hunt wasn't just an injury, it was a death sentence. Competing predators like cave hyenas were always lurking, waiting to steal a hard-earned kill. The life of a wolf was a masterpiece of skill paired with a terrifying level of uncertainty. And then, a new kind of animal appeared on the landscape: humans. From a wolf's perspective, humans were bizarre. We were physically weak, no claws, no natural armor, and incredibly slow. But we had two things no other animal possessed: fire and a talent for being extraordinarily messy. When food was scarce in winter, hunter-gatherers focused on high-fat organ meats and bone marrow, often leaving behind large amounts of lean meat. To a wolf struggling to survive a Siberian winter, a human camp wasn't just a place to find scraps. It was a reliable, predictable source of calories in a world where nothing else could be trusted. This is where evolution made its first move. The aggressive wolves that charged toward the fire were speared. The terrified ones that stayed too far back got nothing and died of hunger. But a small group of wolves was different. They were slightly calmer, slightly less reactive, willing to wait near the firelight without fleeing. These calm wolves ate, survived, and then bred with others who shared their temperament. No human decided to tame a wolf, and no wolf decided to become a pet. It was evolution doing what it does best, filtering a population based on who survives. Over thousands of years, what began as a personality trait hardened into biology. Scientists used to think ancient humans stole wolf pups from dens and hand-raised them. But modern biologists call this a romantic fairy tale. Adult wolves simply do not tame, and the window for socialization closes within weeks of birth. What actually happened was a slow, patient negotiation over hundreds of generations. And as these wolves grew calmer, humans started noticing a massive strategic advantage. Think about the power of a wolf's nose. They can smell an animal from miles away and track a trail hours old across frozen ground. They can scan an entire herd in seconds to find the one animal that is slow or injured. Once the wolves isolated the prey, humans could step in with long-range weapons and coordinated tactics to finish the job. Both species shared the labor. Both species shared the feast. Together, they could do what neither could do alone. But the benefits went beyond hunting. Wolves wake up before humans do. They smell danger long before we can see it. A camp with wolves nearby was a biological fortress, protected from bears and rival tribes. Now, here is the part of the story that most people never hear. When modern humans and wolves began their alliance in Europe, we weren't the only ones there. The Neanderthals had lived across the continent for hundreds of thousands of years. They were strong, highly intelligent, and perfectly adapted to the cold. 45,000 years ago, Neanderthals were the dominant species in Europe. 5,000 years later, they were gone forever. Why? For decades, scientists argued about climate change and disease, but a new theory suggests a different answer. Humans had wolves, and Neanderthals didn't. Archaeological sites across Europe show wolf dogs buried alongside massive concentrations of mammoth bones. We even find houses built entirely from mammoth bones, suggesting that humans were successful enough at hunting to settle down and build permanent structures. Neanderthals were hunting alone, but Sapiens were hunting with the most elite tracking machines on the planet. This gap in efficiency may have been the single greatest competitive advantage in human history. The wolves didn't just change our daily lives, they may have determined which version of humanity survived at all. The evidence of this bond is written in stone. Recently, researchers found wolf remains on a tiny island off the coast of Sweden. The island had no native land mammals. The only way those wolves got there was if humans brought them on boats. Analysis of their bones showed they were eating the exact same diet as the humans, fish, and seals. These wolves were being fed and cared for in a place they couldn't have reached on their own. This wasn't a master-slave relationship, it was a partnership that spanned continents and climates for tens of thousands of years. The standard story of domestication is one of human control. We think we tamed the wild. But wolves didn't follow our script. It was a mutual calculation between two apex predators who had every reason to fear each other but chose to trust instead. The wolf that crept toward your ancestors' fire 30,000 years ago wasn't being conquered. It was making a survival bargain. The humans were useful, the scraps were reliable, and the fire was warm. That ancient decision changed both species permanently. It allowed humans to spread across the entire planet and changed wolves so deeply that their descendants now look at us with eyes that evolution specifically reshaped to trigger a response in the human brain. The next time you look into the eyes of a dog, remember that you are looking at the legacy of a 30,000-year-old calculation. Two predators, one fire, and a choice that changed the world forever. Thank you for watching. If you found this story of our ancient alliance fascinating, hit the like button and subscribe to join our pack.